Welcome. My name is Adair, and this is
Jen.
Yeah. So we figured we'd have a good time talking about Supergirl fangirling out, and just being kind of nerdy with it. Getting dirty with it. So yeah, a little background about myself. I'm a performer, singer, dancer, whatever. The huge, and I love to just read the comics and joke around and watch this stuff. So, being a singer and an actor, a lot of the stuff that I watch on TV, I'm really analyzing it from a performance standpoint, also from like emoting and stuff like that. So when I'm saying stuff and when we're reviewing stuff about the episodes, it really is coming from not just the fangirl and nerd in me, but from the craft. Jen, what do you got going on?
I'm Jen. I have a background in choreography and screenwriting. So when I'm looking at a scene, I'm looking at the action and the dialogue.
So ultimately, what you were kind of looking at when we're discussing the episodes is like a flow between the writers and the actors. Is what the writers writing is that reading to the camera. Is that reading in the moments? Do the flow of choreography and staging work for what we're trying to do?
That's correct.
We really want to just talk about the shows and give praise where praise is due. And just say boo when it's bad. So, yeah, hope you guys enjoy that. And let's get started. So, episode 212, The Luthors. Now, this is a little brief synopsis because ain't nobody got time. You can wiki the episode or Google it. Do the Googles. It was about Lena coming back. Thank God. Kate McGrath. Let's give a hand to that. Just perfection. And Brenda Strong, was it? Yeah, Brenda Strong.
Yeah,
yes.
Stars Brenda Strong.
I mean, can we just, yes, all of the yeses. Okay, so here is the synopsis, the official synopsis of Supergirl. After Metallo, guest starring Frederick Smith, breaks out of prison and frees Lillian Luthor, guest starred by Brenda Strong, the police blame Lena, guest starred by Kate McGrath, for his escape and arrest her. Despite overwhelming evidence, Kara, played by Melissa Benoist, refuses to believe her friend is guilty and fights to clear Lena's name. Flashbacks reveal how Lena came to be a Luthor. Meanwhile, Alex is finally introducing her gal to the gang. So that's super exciting. Yeah. So that's what we got. So we're starting off right now. We're going to talk about the things that we loved, and then we're going to go into things we hate. And then we're going to go into kind of the craft of why we love things, why we didn't love things. We might talk about camera angles or
a scene specifically, and the writing in the scene.
Yeah. Just to get all that together. So if you have any questions, please feel free to hit us up, and we'll give all the information at the end of where you can reach us and all the goodies. So let's get it started. So Jen, start. Tell me what you got.
What did I love? What I loved about this episode. This episode is called The Luthors, and I loved Lena Katie McGrath. I love her character, and I think that this actress brings so much to this show. Specifically, I think that they are doing a really great. I love wardrobe. I just want to take a moment to talk about that. I love what the wardrobe has done for this character. The way they dress this character. I love the color palette that they've chosen for this character. The charcoals, the blacks, the whites, and the burgundies. She's so striking in comparison. So every time she's on screen, she really, really pops. So this episode was about her, and I thought that it showcased her really, really well. The first scene that really struck me was I enjoyed the Sandverse coming out scene. I hadn't realized that they hadn't come out until this point. And I felt like that was, to me, it came as a surprise. One thing that I enjoyed was Monel and his perspective when
when he's like, so ladies loving ladies. It's like, well, that's pretty much the same on Daxam.
Right.
Except more the merrier.
It gives you an introspective on Daxam that I wasn't aware of, how people are on Daxam. So that little tidbit kind of gives you a little bit of cultural awareness of Daxam. What else?
Daxam. Which actually, I find kind of interesting because he said the more the merrier. So it almost I don't question his sexuality, but I kind of go like, for him, like, what's the deal? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like,
Another scene that I really enjoyed was the scene where Lena gets arrested by Maggie, and I really enjoyed it because it was nice to see the two characters, Lena and Maggie, in a scene. You haven't really seen much of that. You've never seen that before till right now, and having Maggie come in, someone we really liked, and making her an antagonist in the scene, because we don't want Lena to go to jail. I felt like that was compelling, and seeing Kara get so worked up about that, I thought that was like a really, like, I would like to see more of that dynamic in the future. Maybe Lena doing more Grace stuff and Maggie calling Lena on that and putting Kara in a questionable position. Does she side with her best friend Lena, or does she side with her instinct to be, her instinct to protect and serve? This overly zealous instinct she has. So I thought that was an intriguing dynamic, and I'd like to see more of it. The trial scene, I thought that the best part of the trial scene was basically the close-up shots of Alex, Kara, and Lena. And I think that when I say this, I think everyone's thinking it. I think that Kara probably should have been sitting next to Lena, and she wasn't. And I was disappointed that she wasn't, because, she's her best friend, and she's there at the trial supporting Lena, but why isn't she sitting with her? Anyways, so I would have liked to have seen that. I thought the dialogue in that, well, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. We'll get to what we don't like later.
Right. Another scene I thought that was a strong scene was Kara really, Kara throughout the whole entire episode believes Lena is innocent, and she is willing to go to bat for her, and she pretty much argues Lena's case to all the most important people in her life, to Alex, to Jimmy, to Win even. And I felt like there was a moment where she's beating down on these rocks in the training room, and I thought that was a really great moment because you really see how frustrated she's gotten to. She's gotten to a place where she can no longer beat her case on the ears of anyone else. She's now just beating her fist into rocks.
I actually think that's the first time we've actually seen Supergirl, or in that moment she was Kara,
right,
using her Supergirl strength to show her frustration.
Right.
I mean, some of us eat, some of us drink, some of us do whatever, and like a lot of them will go to the bar to de-stress or play pool, like Maggie and Alex. But I think that's kind of the first time we've ever seen Kara really lose it in frustration and not necessarily go to violence, because but she was being kind of violent.
It was a violent act.
She was being violent to the damn.
She was using her powers as Kara.
Or a Supergirl, yeah.
To enact some form of form of physicalized violence because of her frustration.
Yeah,
and she doesn't do that. She's very controlled,
which is very telling for her emotional connection to Lena.
And the thing is, Lena hasn't really been in every episode, so so we've seen her in just a few episodes this season, but the scenes that they've written her into with Kara, they've been so relevant that we see this character, who's well into her second season, Kara, reacting kind of more strongly than we've seen in any other, in terms of to any of their relationship. Can I just say, I think Lena is the most refreshing thing, and I really love Calissa Flockhart, and when she left the show, I was upset that she was leaving, but I feel that Lena's kind of filled that gap in the Kara storyline, because she's that intriguing woman who teaches something to Kara.
Well, yeah, I actually think out of the first season and now, Kara will fight for her sister, and she'll fight a bad guy if her sister's in danger. She'll fight emotionally to save her sister. She will fight to protect Jimmy and Win, but I don't think we've ever seen her emotionally fight those who she's closest with. She could not verbally say, hey guys, no, you don't believe me, she's innocent, trust me, she's innocent. And which is kind of fascinating. That's the first time Kara, didn't really feel trusted by her group of people.
Right.
They didn't trust her instincts.
Trust her instincts, and they always trust her instincts.
But that kind of goes back to episode 211, where she was feeling left out, where she was feeling vulnerable and kind of left and dropped, you know, and left alone. And so it also kind of plays there. I like the fact that in the writing in the show, they're kind of building up that whole Kara needs to start being more of an individual and not relying, how she says, I'm so used to having Alex there all the time. She's used to having a man or Jimmy or Win or like being there, you know, or whatever.
Support her decisions.
To support her decisions. And when everybody goes, we don't support your decision of being her friend, that is a new emotion for Kara. And I really like that.
That's what makes this whole Lena thing interesting, is that it really pits Kara against her own people, her tribe.
But not even like in a negative way. It's more like it's a good thing for her to learn. It's in a
growing way.
Yeah, growing way, 100%.
Oh, okay, so another scene, the next scene that really gripped, that I felt was really gripping, was Kara, anytime she's Supergirl, like anytime she like rips off that shirt and is like, I'm gonna go be Supergirl, I felt like that's always exciting. That's always fucking exciting. Seeing anytime the main character gets to act like the main character, the boss of her own show. And I thought it was quite impressive, her saving the group of extras from the falling crane. And I'm like, crane budget in this episode.
crane budget.
They spent the whole budget on the crane.
Sometimes it's like Martian budget. Yeah, we have alien budget.
Crane. And like seeing Kara lift a crane to save a bunch of people, that got me excited. Anytime Kara like uses her super strength,
when she's being Supergirl, like it's really kind of cool.
And the thing about that, and I want to say this, I really enjoy seeing her being super. I enjoy seeing her being her strength and her power. But I also feel like the show does a really good job of kind of stripping her of her power in different ways. So when she does have her power, it's more it's like more of a potent moment.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that crane scene, and I also enjoyed the Brenda Strong moment where she's like this big baddie who's broken out of jail, broken out of her trials. Like she's like, F this, I'm going to get out of here. And she's just kind of getting away, and she challenges Kara in the moment. She's like, say, you know, you can arrest me or you can save those people, because I'm gonna like use my eyes to tell Metallo to shoot the crane, and he's gonna shoot it with his chest. He's gonna do a major chest pump.
I'm gonna use my eyes to tell Metallo privately to shoot that crane. Exactly, that crane. I actually really like the fact that I mean, yes, obviously
and he
Supergirl,
just hits the crane. He doesn't, like, not miss it. He's very efficient.
Like, how do you get enough aim
like,
from your chest?
You put a little umph into
have
it.
Have any of you ever tried to shoot anything from your chest, whether it be love beams or not? But, like, how do you eyeball that? It's not your eyeballs, like Kara with her laser vision. You know, he's just, like, going for it in the chest. Like, let's talk about it for a minute.
So, the other thing I put in my highlights, and this is a general thing, in the Lena moments, in every single one of these scenes, of this episode specifically, I thought they were on another level. It was not just story, plot A, but they were, like, well written on another level, well acted, well put together. The scenic design was great. I felt like, you know, anything that wasn't in that storyline was, you know, striving to catch up to it, because I felt like the writing was great and the actresses were really, really bringing it. And these two actresses have amazing chemistry. I wrote also Kara standing up for Lena, you know, to all her friends and family. Anytime she's doing that, she's not just standing up for Lena, she's standing up for herself as well. And I think that was really, you saw it multiple times in the episode. It was like a repeated theme. I thought that Lena and her mother scenes, and I feel like the actresses, Katie McGrath and Brenda Strong, no matter what the material is, they just like make it fly.
Just going,
and
right?
The scene where you have the cinematography, specifically in the scene where Brenda Strong is in prison and Katie McGrath is visiting her, and you just have, you know, Katie McGrath saying without words, just touching her mother's hands. And
but
that
like
just
also being
that
like
visual is just so strong.
Kind of recoiled,
the
but
cuts
like
to her eyes, the emotion in Katie McGrath's eyes in the moment, like she's just giving you everything, and
all of it. Yes,
it's like, don't waste this actress. She brings all this strength to the character, and all this like extra stuff and just I really enjoyed their scenes, and I look forward to any interaction that between Lena and her mother. And I love, can I just say this? I love mothers. I love mothers in television because I feel like the female relationship between a woman and her mother is not necessarily as explored in mainstream media. So when you have a really well thought out like mother-daughter relationship,
even if they're like,
no
I
matter
hate
what
you
it is,
or love you,
I think it's like so worthwhile exploring because I feel like older women aren't as they're not represented in media, in mainstream feature movies or in television shows as they should be.
No, I gotcha.
Like older women aren't always played by older women; they're played by younger women playing older women. And I feel like whenever you have a well-written older woman, then it's kudos to you. And whenever you have a complicated mother-daughter relationship, that's something you don't see on the screen all the time. That's never like the forefront of a plot. That's not going to be your series. But I think it should be because I think it's just like it's a tale as old as time. But so like I love mother-daughter conflict and I really love writing it as a writer. It's one of my favorite things to write.
What else you got?
I felt that
yeah, see, we decided to write things down because we like to go on tangents. Oh God, we'll go on a tangent in a minute.
I just talked about mothers.
Well, like we said, tangents.
Yes.
So we're like, let's write it down. Also, if you're paying attention at home, like I said, grab a drink. So we're having our lovely beers. A lot of stouts.
I'm gonna spend my last second talking about the second to last scene, which was between Lena and Kara, and it's the scene where all the drama's over. Kara goes to Lena's office. Lena has like a magazine in her hand. She's like, "That was a great story." Kara's like gushing, and they're on the couch together. And there's the line about the office full of roses, and that right there was just like it was really subtextual, and I felt like just like there was so much in that scene that was amazing. I love that scene. That was my favorite scene of the whole show, I think. And basically, you have Kara, and she's so restrained. She's a sweet girl. She's a wonderful girl. And you have Lena, and I really love the wardrobe again in the scene. You have Lena like in this black leather vest thing, and she has like this gold, and it's like coiled around her neck. And it's like very choked and constrained. It's almost like keeping her from, it's like a visual that keeps her from saying what she wants to say. And I feel like that kind of like I know this is maybe reaching, but like the symbolisms of being constrained in who you are is like physicalized in what she's wearing in that moment. I thought that was really lovely. 100%. I thought that Kara has this ability to bring out who Lena is at the core of Lena. She's that woman who sends a room of flowers to Kara. That's who she wants to be. And yet you have like this whole storyline about her family that really keeps her from being that person. Yeah. So in the end, you see Lena and Kara, and you see like Lena needs saving, and she needs Kara, and she basically admits it,
What I was going to say is that, I'm a little bit more of the quasi-comic savvy in these particular stories, and there are things that I really enjoyed. This show is taking a lot of great tones from the comic books that I really enjoy, and I really want to get a little bit more of that. Doesn't have to be comic booky, but I really like that kind of feel. Let's get to the beginning of the episode. Can I just tell you that little girl who played Little Lena is adorable. Like, just stop
she
it.
Looked just like me when I was a 4-year-old.
You were a tiny little white child? Jen's Mexican. Anyways, that's hilarious. Anyways, she was like, she's like, I'm just Little Lena. I'm like, oh my gosh, stop it. Anyways, so that was adorable. I thought it was really cool to see young Lex, even though I don't know what capacity he's going to be used in the future, if he's even used in the future.
Can I just say, when I'm watching young Lex, I'm thinking about Smallville.
Well, I actually love the fact that they showed his father. God, I can't, for some reason, his name escapes me, but Lionel,
Luthor.
there it is, Lionel. I don't know why. All the L's. Can we pick another letter for the family?
I was thinking that exact thing. Lionel, Lillian, Lex, and Lena. Holy.
Who does that? Who does that in the family? That's like George Foreman naming all his sons George Foreman. There's George Foreman the first to like 18. Anyways,
I think
look at
that's why they did it.
Yeah, no, 100%. Way to be creative. But the things I really loved about that was that I think it's cool. He's kind of nerdy, a little shy. He also seemed very warm out of that situation because he probably knows he's been around longer.
I don't know. I mean, he was sleeping around. Maybe
I'm not saying Lionel. I'm saying
Lionel.
No, I'm saying Lex.
Yeah,
seems because he's grown up with his family, he knows the deal and he kind of gets what they're about. And so when this little girl comes who doesn't know nobody, I really appreciated
his kindness.
His warmth and his kindness to her.
Well, that is a positive. I also appreciated it.
Yeah, 100%. Then we have I really liked Alex's group. This is my girlfriend. It wasn't. It was a coming out, but there are things I really liked about it. She got to come out, and it wasn't a big deal. Like they didn't write it to be a big deal. They also didn't write it to be completely dismissed. It was, quote unquote, normal. It was just what it was. Like any other relationship. Hey, this is my girlfriend. Oh, cool. There are things that there's a few things I didn't like about it. But
we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, well, obviously, but it wasn't even that I didn't like about it. I just found it in the writing, in the beats were a little bit weird, a little bit off for me. I noticed something with Jimmy when he's talking to Kara that I was like, I want to know if that's a thing or was it an acting choice? Like, is that something that's planted or is it an acting choice? We'll find that out later. I really, really, really loved the, like we said, Brenda Strong and Katie's stuff because it was just a matter of being very meticulous and being very smart and cutthroat, but also like there's something there. So when she's sitting there in the station, holding her mother's hand and dealing with all this stuff, there was that vulnerability on Kate's part, who wants to have the love for their mom, but also has the wall up. She is listening to what Kara told her. She is still your mom. So see if there's some love there. But I also feel
like she was playing a long-term chess game.
She is at this meeting, and it felt very strong. There were two strong players who know how to play the game. And there was part of Kate who wanted to be a little bit more vulnerable and listen to Kara, but there's also, she knows who she's dealing with, which I thought was great. I loved seeing it. I loved emotionally later when I thought about it, I was like, damn, that was actually real on point. Mazel tov. It actually reminds me very much of Shakespeare and how it's that dance that we do as actors. I really loved Jimmy.
Nice for one episode?
It was Jimmy really appreciating, like, I was wrong. I appreciate a guy who can say he was wrong. Let's be honest with ourselves. I also, obviously I liked it because I didn't like it. Sometimes things that you don't like, it's because you really liked it and they did a good job about it. The conflict between Jimmy and it's like, oh, well, you trust Lena over me, blah, 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 and it's like, dude, get over yourself, like, get your big boy panties on, get over yourself. But I actually liked that so much, but I also hated it because I was just like, Jimmy, shut up, Jimmy, shut up, Jimmy, shut up, Jimmy, shut up. But I was like, well, you're doing your job because I am so annoyed now.
I'm annoyed with you, Jimmy. You made me annoyed.
I'm so annoyed with you right now. Okay, so that was that. I loved the conversation with Monel and Kara when she is breaking the bricks, because there is nobody. I know a lot of people want to hate on Monel, and I get it. There's a good reason to hate on Monel, but there's also a really good reason to like Monel as well. And I think that being the closest specimen or alien specimen to Kara, there are things that they can agree on. He is an outsider. He is weird. He's out of her box, out of her comfort zone. So when he says, hey, you believed in me, and that meant a lot, it actually meant something. Yeah, they, the whole liking each other, that's whatever it is. But the idea that that he told her, like, hey, don't give up on your internal, like, knowing yourself and knowing what you believe in, because you believed in me, and it's turning me around. I can be a complete dick and a douchebag, which we all know he is, and he's turning around because she sees the light in him. which I think is a really strong case for a lot of us. There are people who we can't stand, and there are people who are like, why don't we like them? Why can't we stand them? Or, hey, that person seems like a bad person, but I really enjoy their company. That's a great thing to say, you know what, I'm going to stick with my morals and not listen to my friends. If this person says, oh, he's a bad person, she's a bad person, sometimes you got to give people the benefit of the doubt because you don't know where they're coming from. And I think Car's really good at doing that. That made me so happy in that scene. It was very, I don't know, just subtly strong, and I appreciated that. I really appreciated Maggie stepping up to Car because I've talked about this a little bit with friends.
That was lovely.
Yeah, where Maggie in the dynamics, okay, so if she's in the DEO, Maggie is the bottom of the totem pole. We have Supergirl, obviously. We have Alex, and then we have Maggie within the DEO as far as the three women. Obviously, it would be technically Supergirl, Jean Jones, Alex, Maggie, okay? And I like the fact that when she's in the DEO, Maggie knows Alex is kind of ahead of her, and then really who's ahead of both of them? Supergirl, fine. And then Kara, which I really like to see the struggle in this episode, was that she's Kara. To everybody else, she's human. And Maggie's the one that holds all the power in those moments because she is the authority. She is the cop. Now, if Alex showed up on the scene and pulls her, magic ID trick again, she can be FBI, which technically would take the jurisdiction out of Maggie's hands. But ultimately, Maggie is the power in that dynamic. So having her be like, Kara, stay out of it, I thought it was really strong because she wasn't being bitchy. She was doing her job, and she was right. Maggie was 100% correct, where it's like, Kara, this is not your place. And I really like that. And I want to see more of that, not necessarily in a battling situation, but Kara kind of learning her boundaries on certain things. Just because you Supergirl doesn't mean you Supergirl. You know what I'm saying?
I really, really agree with that point. I think that Kara and her boundaries, I think, like, if I were a writer on the show, I'd make all of season 3 about that. That's just me.
Well, so. Yeah. No, and her boundaries. So I like that. I really, really, really liked, I really enjoyed the end with Mon-El. Now, don't get me wrong. I am a huge Supercorp person, but I'm also not, like, childish. So I actually can understand both sides of why someone would like Supercorp and someone would like Carmel. So I was okay. There were things I didn't like about the scene. We'll talk about it. With Carmel, I loved the cinematography on Melissa's face. I've always known Melissa was a beautiful woman, and that's always great and wonderful. But, man, she took the glasses off, and the way she stared at him and the way it was captured on film was very 1940s starlet, very Hollywood, very, very old school. And it was just perfect. When I saw that shot, I was like, oh, my God. Like, I looked at her and was like, geez, Melissa, giving me all the goosebumps. So I was like, damn, I'm not even in the room. You know what I'm saying? And that was just a good angle on her, and her delivery was good. And, like, I didn't realize her eyes were that blue. I don't know if they color corrected it to me even more ridiculous. I was like, good Lord. Like, if I was him standing there, I would just have been, like, on the floor. Like, that would have been it. You know what I'm saying? I really liked her vulnerability. It's okay to be strong and show vulnerability and to say, hey, this sucks. I'm not good at it. There are a lot of girls who might not be the most effeminate or any of that. And then when they see a guy, they're like, I am so awkward because I don't fit the stereotype or whatever. And I don't like I like to be strong. I don't like to be, weak or seen as something less or whatever you want to say. So I really appreciated that. And can we talk about the end? And I cannot wait until this this belated Valentine's episode that they got going on with Mr. Mike Mix Picklick.
Oh, I'm not gonna even try that.
No, let's all try together. Mrs. Picklick. Mrs. Picklick.
Mr. Piswick. I'm sorry.
Mr. Piswick.
I'm sorry. I don't know. But he looked like he was all time. He looked one.
Mazel tov.
Very good looking actor. 2, like.
Oh, I don't know his name. We should look.
I loved it. I thought it was a fabulous ending. I was actually going to say I forgot to add that ending as one of the things I really enjoyed watching.
I laugh because it also, you know, I can hear a ton of Supercorp shippers going, don't kiss her, no! You know, and then he shows up, they're like, yes! You know,
I felt that way. I was like, what the? Yes! No, actually, I had a sense they were going to get interrupted.
Well,
but
it's Supergirl, they're always going to get interrupted.
I'm just saying. I was like, this scene has to end at one point,
but,
and in one way, and thank God it ended that way, because, yeah, we'll talk about that in a second.
She's all about it, but that's what made me laugh, and I really just like that whimsical feel. Also, can we talk about the CGI real quick? On that Whisper Trail, actually looked really great. That looked very magical. I know when we're doing the portals for the Flash and stuff, yeah, obviously it looked a little CGI. Didn't look as Stargate as we would have liked, or in that kind of realm. But,
or even in this episode when the kryptonite just blows up.
Well,
that's supposed to be like a nuke kryptonite.
Yeah. Let's all have a good laugh at the green gas.
We put all our energy in the crane.
With the most absolute. Why was that suspense so long?
We didn't talk about that scene, but we will.
So about the fight. Actually, the fight was actually.
The fight was great.
It was fun.
And then Lena being like, "Don't touch her! Don't hurt her!" And then like, okay, but Lena being like, "Don't hurt her!" And then like Supergirl getting hurt. That was like she was like, "Oh, I got a migraine from this like grenade of like kryptonite." That was funny.
I actually really just like the fight choreography between her and Metallo. When she finally is like, "It's about to blow," and then like she tries to like fist fight him or whatever. There was a really cool spin that he did and like grabbed her arms, and I thought that was like just a really good like shout out to the fight.
Super's arm.
Well, everybody, but but I say good for the fight choreographer. I really like that. It was smooth.
That was good, yeah.
Because there's sometimes the fights could seem a little chunky given what they're doing, or you know, as we said, fake. Because you can sometimes realize they're not making contact.
Like you have the background in choreography.
Yeah, well, but I really.
No, I'm glad you're talking about it.
But I really appreciate it.
It was really good. It was seamless.
But yeah, so the end of it, I really like that. Now we're gonna dive
into
deep.
What
we
could fix, not hated. Let's not use that word.
Hated. Okay.
All right.
Dislike strongly, or would have changed if we could write it, or
all right. ...
As
a writer and a choreographer, we'll talk from that perspective.
You'll talk from that perspective.
I'm going to.
Right
now. What's happening? It's about to go down. Okay. I'm going to start with my list. It's actually not very long. Things that I didn't really like about this episode, and I didn't like about past episodes, was Metallo and the green shit coming out of his chest. I just feel... I feel like it looks bad. Like, it looks like not real. Like, I don't believe the part that is the green connected to his chest. I think that just looks terrible. And the choreography, now that we're talking about choreography, where he just like whips his arms and then he blows a bunch of green stuff out his chest. Like the arms, does he need the arm action for it to happen? That's what I need to know.
I'm gonna
the fact that the character's name is Metallo, I don't even know. It sounds. Can I say? Every time I hear it, I feel like it's like some form of like deodorant brand.
Oh Lord.
That like is gelatinated deodorant brand for men. That's what I feel like when I hear the name Metallo. But that's just me. Maybe he's from a comic book. I don't know.
He is from the comic books. But he's one of the older comics.
It's silly. Anyways, okay.
Jen doesn't know much about the comics, so don't judge.
Okay. The other thing I felt like I was robbed of in this episode is being robbed of the visual of Supergirl carrying an unconscious Lena out of the hazard zone to safety.
Yeah,
and the question I felt was like, why did it take Supergirl so long to piece out of that situation? Like, she's just like fighting, going back for more fighting, and then she like stops, takes a glance. I'm looking at you, Metallo. I'm like, just grab Lena, get out of there. I'm with like.
And how far away? When did Martian Manhunter leave his establishment to come like help her out? Like he didn't like do much other than like get him off of her. Like he couldn't have gone in the first place. He's not allergic to kryptonite, so why couldn't he just show the fuck up? Like in the first place,
then it wouldn't be Supergirl, girl.
I know.
Supergirl, girl.
But like, maybe she could have been the backup real quick in a case that she could have killed herself. But then again, she needed to save her girlfriend. Anyways, continue.
Okay. Oh, so this is like a writer's issue that I had. And I was talking to Adara about this earlier today, and I've decided to add it in my she's heard this spiel, but I'm going to tell you it. Basically, I said storyline A, storyline of Lena going to jail for her mother and being framed. All of that is so compelling, and it just moves, and there's so much chemistry between Lena and her mother, Lena and Kara. I was talking about that. But, like, I felt like storyline B, which was Manal and Manal and Kara, Monal basically connecting with Kara intimately, emotionally. I felt like the two storylines did not make sense. I felt like there was a pacing problem. I felt like when we were living in storyline A, that everything was going by very, very quickly, and then it was very chunky and odd cuts where we would see, Kara doing something really, really important, and then Monal walks into her workplace. But I felt like the pacing between storyline A and B were off, because anytime Monal was on, he wasn't utilized well in this episode. I felt like he slowed the pacing of the show down, and I didn't want to know what his man feelings were. I wanted to get to the meat and potatoes, to the action, to the trial, to understanding things. So that, to me, was a pacing issue.
And storyline A is going to be the main.
For the episode, I explained
for
what that was.
For those who don't know what A and B are.
Well, usually in screenwriting you have like A, B, and C, or you could even have A, B, C, and D. And D is always just the subtle, tiny character you see in the background who ends up becoming like a super big character 5-6 episodes later. Storyline A is like Luthors. It's basically whatever the show is about, the topic of the day. Storyline B is what Manel was, which basically was the emotional.
Yeah, I would say this time Manel
point of view, the emotional point of view of Kara, really, because Manel only really exists to like further Kara, because technically the show is Supergirl. So even though he exists because he's essentially an extension of Kara, all characters are essentially extensions of the main character, fulfilling something that they're missing. So that I felt was just slow. Oh, I put down cheesy, ominous music. I felt like the music editing in this episode was hilarious, because you had like romantic music edited on purpose behind the Lena and Kara scenes, which tells us that, even the show is kind of shipping that. But
they're not shipping it, they're baiting it.
They're baiting it. They're doing something that somebody in the music room was like, let's use this. And that was cheesy, and I thought it was funny. But then you also had the ominous, angry music for when, like, Lena mechanically sits down onto the couch and she picks up the chess piece and she's like, chess. And then there's, like, angry music in the background. You know what I mean? Oh, in the trial scene, Metello is giving his testimony, and then, he blows up the whole court. He blows a hole in, like, the person prosecuting him. Bitch, you're done. Boom. And basically, he blows up the trial room, and everyone runs out. I felt like there was a cut scene, a transitional scene that happened too quickly, where Alex is like, hey, you go, tells Supergirl to go. And Supergirl's like, I got this. And she rips her shirt off and she runs out to be Supergirl. The reason why I felt like this transition was cut too fast was because we knew that Lena was in the room. We knew that the room was entirely full of a bunch of people who would have seen Kara transform. So if you cut that scene too quickly, then the perspective of the audience is that she does it in front of the entire courtroom, which we know she didn't do. Because clearly, at the end of the day, no one knows that Kara's wearing glasses and she's not Supergirl. So I felt like that right there was some, like, just the editing right there was, to me, awful. Yeah, those are my notes. There, go.
Oh, well. I forgot to mention that Lena holding the chess piece.
You love that?
No, I loved it because I like because it's Easter egg for those of us who read the comics.
Okay.
And so it's like, it was cool to be like, wait a minute. And, I'm a big fan of watching other people's reactions and seeing where their thoughts are and what they got going on, And some of the stuff that people brought up, which is really cool, and I was like, yeah, hey, there it is her possibly being part of being the White Knight and being a part of that kind of anti-hero government thing. Not like her mom, but not like the DEO, kind of in the middle, a little on the gray side. So I like that idea that might be a storyline in the future. Let's start with the very beginning as far as, like, the coming out thing. Um, when it wasn't that I didn't like it, it's a matter of it felt too quick. One thing that Supergirl does kind of lack from in their storytelling, sometimes they'll go too fast with something that you would like a little bit of a pause or something there. When she shows up, you can see on Jimmy's face, he's like, "What? Oh, yeah, hey, girl, like, oh, that's your girlfriend, cool." And Wynn's like, "I didn't know. Did you know? Hey, like, even though he didn't know, I wanted to see some type of shock or some type of response other than, okay, not that it needed to be negative, but I mean, when you find out your friend who you've known for years is gay, you're like, what? Oh, okay. Oh, okay, cool, yeah. That's why Monel's reaction was so good because he's like, what? Oh, that's a thing? Oh, okay, cool. And even John, Papa Spaceman, I love that. He's like, I'm psychic. Duh. Like, I love how they use his powers and his Martianness to get him out of all kinds of stuff. Can't go to the planet to save Car on the Red Moon? Oh, yeah, the air's toxic. Uh, you know, can't go save a Car or something because, it's deadly to me. Don't need to have a conversation with Alex about her being gay because I'm psychic. It's called Ex Machina Martian Manhunter powers, and I appreciate it. I really do. What I also, okay, so things I did not, I didn't like that. Also, something that kind of triggered me, not really triggered, but I was like, what was that? Was it an acting choice or was there something there? When Jimmy he hugs Alex and is like, congratulations on your girlfriend, and then talks to Kara and he goes, does that cop know I'm the Guardian? I found the phraseology very interesting because he's seen Maggie before. Hey guys, that's Maggie. Okay, cool. Oh, hey, this is my girlfriend, Maggie. Okay, I know Maggie. If you're introduced to your friend's girlfriend, you're not gonna go, hey, is that guy over there? He's cool. You're like, oh, what's his name? Or, oh, what's her name? Does she know I'm a cop? Or does she know I'm Guardian? Not, does the cop know I'm Guardian? Which makes me feel kind of disconnected. And like I said, I wasn't sure if it was a acting choice or something purposely meant. Because what if Jimmy, he does seem a little bit more conservative, kind of, out of the whole group. Maybe he isn't necessarily a huge fan of it. Maybe he is just worried about himself. But I found it interesting that 2 seconds ago, we just said, hey, this is Maggie. And then he talks to Car. Is that cop? Does she know I'm Guardian? It's like, calm your tits. You know what I'm saying? Anyways. So I found that a little interesting. And maybe you saw the same thing. Okay, so we're going to get to Mon-El and Kara. I don't like the fact that they've rushed the relationship. I know that in the comic books, Mon-El is on and off again, boyfriend, blah, 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 puts in stasis later. Spoiler alert for those of you guys who don't know. As a comic storyline, that is something that we can either look forward to or at least know in the realm that that's a possibility. They were on and off. That's been in a lot of the comic book series. So
Mon-El and Kara.
Yes.
Okay.
And then, so there's that. But I don't like how when we were introduced to Mon-El, he's a refugee, whatever, his planet's all blown up, the same story that Kara got going on, but he's on the run. His on the run story has been pushed back so far that you kind of forgot why he's there, and he's been now kind of relegated to the sidekick boyfriend type, which we all hate. A lot of people, especially in the LGBTQ community, really hate him at the moment. They don't even dislike him, they hate him. But some of those things I think are more selfish reasons.
I think it's hard to like him. I feel like they didn't do a good job of setting him up.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, the thing I don't like about that is that they've rushed his character. They've rushed that. If they would have, done his story already and his actual reason why he's there and brought that a little bit closer, I think that would have been really cool. Or even like, let's be friends but have an attraction would have been nice to see. Just because you're a boy and she's a girl doesn't instantly mean that you guys gotta hook up. It's like, how about you are her friend? How about you do get to know her? Because I was looking at somebody's somebody's reaction, and he brought up the fact that they're both gonna age at the same rate, and Mon-El is gonna be there 300 years later. He'll be there the same time Kara's gonna be there. After Alex, Maggie, all of them are dead and gone, they'll still be around each other. So there's going to be a connection there no matter what. But I get sad that they got rushed so much that it makes me feel like, meh. I would have loved not even a slow burn. I would have loved them to be friends, and that almost people would forget that they were romantic, and then they become romantic. Because people, that's a storyline that doesn't get
So
told.
what you're saying essentially is you want them to, because they messed it up the first time, like restart.
Well, I would have loved to have seen them be friends and actually like get to know each other. Like he doesn't really know anything about it besides the fact that she's hot and she's
I think
Supergirl.
the hardest thing for me to like swallow with Manel to accept is that he's so like stock cookie cutter kind of character. He's, you know, a prince from a planet. He's privileged. He's a frat boy. They give him all these like to me all these qualities that make me not want to root for him because he doesn't have to work for it. And like he doesn't have to work for Kara's affections because in like the 5 episodes he's been in or whatever amount of episodes he's been in, he's pretty much showed up into town and he's been successful. And anything he didn't like, he didn't have to change about himself. Kara had to accept. And then she has to like him. So I feel like that's what really makes it hard for me to like him. And that's like writing. So I feel like you talk about writing, you talk about Manal being this great character in the comics, but I've yet to see
I don't know
that
about great, but
I've yet to see that transcend or even read in the show.
And that's what I'm saying.
And so then you want me to like him. And I'm like, but you've given me no reason. And he's been so, and I feel like he's unnecessary because there are a lot of men in Kara's life who all are powerful. And we talked about this. We talked about this. Kara being like, she's like a powerful woman, but she's surrounded by powerful men. And if she can't finish the job, they do it basically. And so we talk about like the focus shifting from Kara's storyline, and that for me is like Monel is another one of those people who's shifting my focus from Supergirl.
Yeah, and like I said, they sped up the relationship, and like I said, she started off saying, oh, I want to train you because I didn't get to train Clark. Fine.
I like that a lot.
I actually did like that as well, but they didn't do it. They said it, and then they never did it. And then I'm like, okay, I would have loved to see, like I said, them be friends and them get to actually know each other, not just like, oh, you're hot, oh, you're an alien, oh, blah, 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 let's get together. No, like the usual. I wanted to see a little bit more of that trust between them. I wanted something different for the foundation of them so that it could be stronger later. Right now, what they've done is make a weak foundation so that anything they do later, when he turns out to be the prince, when someone's after him, there is going to be no real foundation of trust there for her and nothing going on. I would have loved it because he's going to be the only, next to Martian Manhunter, species around for the next 100 years just like her. I would have liked to have a little bit more foundation. That's what I'm saying. Other things that I wasn't really a fan of, I wasn't sure if he was being in the moment. As a viewer, I really enjoy certain moments, and honestly, when she took her glasses off, when Kara took her glasses off, in that moment of vulnerability, Melissa was very present in her acting and what she was conveying. And this is a writing thing, mainly. When she looks at him and gives him that snap, of her head, I, as a viewer at home, was like, damn. If you guys know about Winona Earp and you saw that, when Winona walks into the ball and Dolls is like, damn. Like, that is a natural dude reaction to something that's like just hitting you with that much power. You're like, damn, yes, girl, 100%. You know what I'm saying? With Monel, when she looked at him in that moment of being vulnerable and wanting him, he goes, hi. Like, writing-wise, I was like, really? Like, that's what you're talking about? If anybody looked at me like that, I wouldn't want words. I would want something a little bit more visceral, something that's unspoken. I would love a silent intensity almost. And then getting close to that kiss would have been enough physical energy and electricity to like really spark my interest. The one thing I like about Kate McGrath, and the reason why I think their chemistry, Melissa Benoist and her chemistry is so strong, much stronger than Monel's, or I forget the actor's name, chemistry, is because they also take beats. Notice their scenes. Look back at Katie and Melissa's scenes. There are pauses. There are moments. They hold back. They don't say it exactly as it is. They don't say, hey, there's no awkwardness. She goes, so my office is full of flowers. Lena doesn't instantly go, oh, yeah, that's me. She takes a moment and goes, oh, oh, really? Very subtle. And it's very like, oh, what? Oh, and then a smile. There was no other language. There wasn't like a, oh, what? And then,
It's all action.
It's all action and it's all being present at that moment. And that's what is very visceral for all of us to feel. And we're like, what was that about? I've seen a lot of people who've seen the show and who've reviewed the show and they're like, I would never ship Supercorp. And then they see that scene and they're like, so was that on purpose or was that right? Like, I kind of shipped it, but like,
I think this episode really like set the standard. The mast is up. It's flying.
I love some of the graphics, things that I didn't like. I love some of the graphics. The blow up kryptonite thing. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. That is a hot mess, y'all. Hot mess. But that cracked me up. Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of Metallo's spasming acting, but whatever. You try acting like you have a green piece of kryptonite going out your chest and see how you do. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous, but, that's besides the point. Oh, I wanted to bring something else up about Brenda Strong. Not only is she mad about aliens, but, like, having that child, having the new Lena in her life is, like, an alien to her lifestyle at that moment.
I like that a lot, yeah.
And she's, like, having to accept... She doesn't like things that change her bubble. It's very reminiscent of what's going on in our society today. People, are left or right or whatever, doesn't matter, but at the end of the day, they get a little upset that sometimes things, attack their bubble, attack their world, and some people honestly cannot cope or cannot adjust properly to it. And I feel like, Lily and Luthor, she doesn't, adjust. She's not really adjusted to Lena because she doesn't really love her. She's not really her child, and it's very, very interesting to me.
But her just like showing up into town, making Lena's life miserable, putting her daughter in jail, I just feel like it's a little too
obvious.
It's a little too villain stuff to be like.
Yeah, the mustache twirling kind of. Yeah,
she's playing. Brenda Strong is doing a great job playing a caricature, but she hasn't really become a character.
Now, okay, so
she can't really be the big bad that Lena just like. We want Lena to stay good. We don't want her to cross over entirely to the dark side. We don't want Lena the big bad. Yeah. So if Lena's not the big bad, then it has to be her mother that she takes down, or Lex. I don't think we'll see Lex in this series. But like what I'm saying is that so in order for Lena's storyline and for Supergirl's storyline, to stay prevalent and for Lena to not go bad, then you really, really need to develop the big bad, and that would be in Brenda Strong's character.
Okay, so going forward, what would you want to see on going forward in the episodes and in the next, half of this season? What is something that you're looking forward to?
I would develop Brenda Strong. I'd want her to be a recurring guest star. I would bump up Katie McGrath to full-time or start writing towards her being a full-time character next year. I would absolutely explore the romantic relationship between Manal and Katie McGrath's Lena character with using Supergirl as like, being involved with both, because I think that would both are horribly interesting. And I want to see more of Maggie, so that's what I want to see.
Yeah, Florina Lena.
Florina kills it in all of her scenes. She's charming with her eyes, and she has a way of just laughing with her eyes. I love that quality of her.
I didn't really talk about that character real quick, but we'll talk about it in a minute.
As far as Super, I need Jimmy's storyline to totally tone down, if not turn out, because he's just not interesting or holding my attention, and there's so much more there. I think the only super person besides Supergirl who should have any business fighting crime is Jean, and that's because he's the Green Martian. I love his storyline.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you're talking about. He has a great storyline. He's doing a bunch of cool stuff. Things that I really am looking forward to. Well, just in general, just a lot more comic mythos. Right now, I feel like, yes, I love learning about everybody individually, but I feel kind of like we've gone away from Supergirl. It's like Supergirl and Friends, and I'm not the biggest fan of that. I really do want to see her being strong on her own and doing her own thing. I think that they are setting her up to get there. I just wish that we were getting to her journey a little quicker. Having, Alex has somebody now, Kara having to learn to be on her own for the first time, really be on her own. That's why I'm also a little bummed out that they're trying to pair her up with somebody so quickly. In anybody's life, if you have a sibling and they start dating and maybe you were close, sometimes you fall out of sorts or get a little distance between you two, but you're always family, you're always, siblings. And that's okay, but I feel like Supergirl or Kara has never been just by herself, doing her own thing. Yeah, she's adopted, yeah, her family left, but that was a tragedy, but she's always had people around her. I would like to see Supergirl really deal with being her own person, being a woman, being a working girl, being, Supergirl, having all this stuff on her own without having to be around somebody. If you can't be by yourself for a little bit, then there's something going on, I can't wait to see more of that. I would love to see more Florina doing anything. I think her balance as Maggie is amazing. She is that voice of reason for everybody. She's strong, hence where she can be like, Kara, stay out of it. And exactly. And she's also sensitive to Alex, like, hey, I don't want you squishing your feelings anymore. Go talk to your sister. Even when Alex messed up and she's like, you get one chance. Because she doesn't want to be hurt. And I like that decisiveness. There is no part of her that's like, I don't know what you're talking about, I'm looking forward to more John Jones. I cannot wait, and I hope that they do bring back McGahan and the actress who plays her, because they are just absolutely wonderful. So, I'm looking forward to that. And Mr. Mick Spicklick, or whatever you want to call him, Mr. PP, or whatever you call him, really. Mr. PP, I don't know what his name is. I cannot wait for the postponed, Valentine's episode, and to see all the shenanigans. That's going to be awesome. Nonetheless, thanks for hanging out with us and talking, spitballing, and this is kind of our first thing, so we'll see how it goes. And, if you like, please feel free to
subscribe
and click and all that goodness. My name is Adair. If you want to get in touch with Jen or myself, please make sure you message me on Twitter. Handle is WickedlyMe. That's WICKEDLEME. We look forward to connecting with you guys and talking to you and really answering the question you have for us, which is, what about that?